Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Devin Osborne here, back for the Square Q&A live question and answer, and I am going to answer your questions that you dropped in the comments. I'm excited. There was a lot of good questions, and there was actually a lot of challenging questions, so I am more than thrilled to help. So stick around and see what it's about. All right. What is up, folks? How are you doing today? I was super excited to see the amount of response that we got back from the initial post. It seems like a lot of people were engaging and were active in the feed, so I'm happy, more than happy, to answer all of your questions, and hopefully I can provide some value for you and hopefully your business in that sense. So unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to watch all of Pesso's Q&A, but I know he's done an incredible job, and it seems like he's got an incredible history himself. So I'm honored to answer your questions for what it's worth. So let's jump right in. All right. So thank you again for your compliments, Pesso. I mean, that means a lot. Any of these things, it's really nice to have such nice people around. So, managing, question number one was, he's curious, he says, about how I manage all these things with all the time, everything from software engineering to marketing companies to the restaurant. And the question, or the answer to that, is kind of simple. I pretty much work all the time. And I've pretty much done that for at least pretty much 6 years now or so. But it's really been about a decade, but, there's loose times within there, so I'm not going to say that on here, but it's been quite a while. Now, granted, I'm not actively in all of those at this current point in time, right this moment. Previously, I was more active in my marketing company. Now I'm a little bit less active as I don't have as much going on necessarily. I mean, I'm always working on something. I'm always working on clients. I always have projects that are going on. Anything of the sort, it could be any of those things. The restaurant's never ending. It never stops. So that's just I just take that for what it's worth. And if I'm not working on anything else, I'm working on the restaurant. So work-life balance for me, I enjoy what I do quite a bit. I enjoy helping people just like this. So pretty much I'm almost happiest, or I guess I would say I'm pretty much happiest when I'm working. Not just for money or monetary reasons. I don't really care much about that, but genuinely being able to work on purposeful projects, helping people and bridging gaps that are problematic for people. For a long time, it's been my parents with our restaurant, has been huge. So that's why I have the drive and the passion to keep going. Or as many others may exhaust or tire sooner. I've just got a never-ending burn for, helping others and just doing life and just living life. That I know that wasn't really a great answer, but it's kind of my answer, So next question would be, what steps have I taken to simplify the restaurant business to make time for the others and vice versa? Which ones have had the biggest benefit to your life and your business? Yeah, so again, time management and efficiency. I'm all about efficiency. I'm all about frictionless moving, frictionless working. And we've taken some pretty big leaps in our restaurant business to create some of those efficiencies. To name one, and I'm kind of going offhand here, guys, so I apologize if some of this is a little spacey. One of the biggest efficiencies that we ended up implementing was Square in itself, Square POS. And the reason that is prior to this, we were using a typical cash register with like First Data, whatever, for credit card processing and whatnot. However, as that was great, and we're handwriting tickets. We thought we were doing good then, but being able to maximize that at scale and have uniform tickets and ordering and catalogs across just the entire platform for the restaurant internally was one of the, even though it was, my parents and others may have thought that it was more of a hassle at the time, it became one of the biggest saviors of our entire business and time. There was always going to be the same price. People were always going to charge the same things. There was no questions about it. Prior to that, when somebody would ask for an extra sauce or an extra meat or anything like that, it would be a lot more of a guilt thing on the, one of us employees to ask for that from the customer. But if it's in the system, it's just what the system says. So there's no real dictation about it. And I think that's one of the things that the majority of small businesses don't understand today. As I still walk around, I see tons of people using cash registers and first data and things, and there's just so many issues that you have to deal with those. PCI compliance, internet shortages, internet outages, for whatever reason, it just, first data is not scanning in cards, and then you go sit on their helpline for, 3 hours and get nowhere. So having all of these things with Square has honestly made it one of the simplest and easiest times that I've had building the business. And I could go on and on all day about that. But in sum, really optimizing ourselves with the Square process and just a POS system in itself that is up to date, continually updating itself, and always bettering. And I'll just add one more note to this because I think this is important. Most people don't really understand the value of Square versus Toast or I've worked with Toast, I've worked with ShopKeep, I've worked with a few others in Shopify and things like that. But the value of Square over, especially ShopKeep, which is where we came from, is that Square has enough enough ability to continually develop and increase its platform on itself. So essentially, your business is building itself without even you doing anything, and you're using essentially a free platform that Square gives you if you just use the white Square POS app like I do. So it's just incredible because prior to that, you wouldn't be doing any kind of business development, business growth. You would just be stagnant using a cash register. So it's all crazy and interesting to me. So next question would be from Pesso again. We got one more. It looks like he says, what's something that's been on the top of your list to do to improve your business, but you haven't gotten there yet? This is something I'm working on right now, which is mobile app development. That's definitely something I am trying to do and implement. I'm about 150 hours in on the mobile app, and it's something I think is just going to be awesome. It's unique. Not many small businesses have their own mobile app, especially for online ordering, app ordering, whatever you want to call it. So I think that's going to be great. I think it's a lot of fun. Last year we definitely bridged the gap in a lot of the things that I wanted to do, like general online ordering, delivery, catering, things like that. And I guess from another practical standpoint, something I really wanted to do is bolster our catering and we've taken steps to do so. I just created a new catering menu and fully laid it out and observed for people. But I would like to implement some kind of full service, very streamlined process for catering because there's just so much money and value in what we can provide there that almost no one else can compete with us in our city. However, building out the infrastructure, the employees, the setup, the time, management for all of those things is quite the hassle. So those two things are really what I'm looking at, and I'm pretty excited about them. So yeah, thanks again, Pesso, for all your questions. I really appreciate it, and I'm honored to answer them. So thank you. And if you guys have any more questions, feel free, again, at any time, drop me a question. I will be more than happy to answer. So the next one comes from Dan at Scorpion Coding, and I've worked with him actually a few months ago now. And so, yeah, super happy to answer your questions, Dan. I hope everything's going all right for you with your projects and whatnot. So question one from Dan is, social media is and will forever be a major role in our business's success. How does a business choose which platform to use? Are there any free tools to utilize out there to kind of get the most out of those campaigns on social? What are some ways that a small company can compete with larger companies dropping thousands, potentially millions of dollars on marketing? Yeah, good questions. I will say that, social media, again, is underrated when it comes to a marketing and advertising platform. All too often, I see businesses, they scramble and scrape and scrunk by, and they don't realize the potential that's sitting right there on their phone. Like I said, prior to really being in software development, I was fully marketing, and I still am. And I just crave and love good user experiences and customer acquisitions and understanding what the customer is doing and how to drive that kind of business. So there's just so many potentials and opportunities of how to increase those gaps. And, if anybody doesn't know out there, you can post on Facebook and Instagram for free every single day, unlimited times, without having to pay a single dime. So, to speak more practically, it's all great to know those things and to be grateful for those things. However, in a more practical sense, yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's hard. And the one thing that you need to do, and I know this can get oversimplified sometimes, especially if you've been doing some sort of rendition of it, you just have to make good content. And I know that sounds like it's a really dumb, vague answer, but I promise you when I say it matters what you make and it matters how much you post. I've seen a lot of people, and even us prior to us revamping our whole socials, posting consistently once every day, once every couple of days, the special. Because we're a restaurant, so we post. Previously my mom posted the special every day on Facebook, and occasionally, and then when there was a special event, holiday, an event that happened, a birthday, anything like that, we would post that. So we had this whole kind of family kind of feel on our Facebook page, but it was growing, and it grew over the course of some years, and it was a steady 4,500, 5,000 following. So it was a strong following, especially for where we live. However, what happened after became momentous when we started increasing our following at rapid rates. So what changed? And what changed was the content that we were putting on the site, our frequency of putting it on the site, the times of days that we were putting it on the site. And there's whole mathematical breakdowns you can go through with all of these things and all of these problems and say, oh, well, I can't do this and I can do that. But for the average business owner, I will give you hopefully a couple pieces of advice here that will actually practically help you out. And number one, when you go to post content, please don't post the same picture that you posted last week or yesterday or 2 weeks ago or anytime. Even now, I say that I've posted the same picture multiple times, right? But I'm very cautious to do so. And even though I will usually only do it on a whim, and I still don't like to do that. Now, the reason is because surprisingly enough, people are smart enough to realize when you've posted one picture before. And it's actually kind of crazy, but it happens. So take pictures. Now, there's a lot of businesses with a lot of style, so not everybody is easy as taking pictures of food. But it doesn't really matter what it is. If it's a clothing store, a little shop, or whatever, take pictures. So when I go to post on Instagram or Facebook, I actually plan these things out. It's all about planning, strategizing, and actually, moving through what you want to post. You can't just post on these platforms like willy-nilly, whatever you want. Hopefully, you will understand that posting on these platforms is going to bring you some kind of return, and it's going to create some kind of engagement. But you shouldn't look for that out of your customers. You shouldn't look for them to, gawk over you and immediately run to your site and start buying stuff, because that's not what's going to happen. This is social media is very, very long tail, meaning do not expect results in a month and do not expect them in 7 weeks. Expect results in a year and a half, because that's literally how long it takes. So a year and a half after grinding out really good content, photos, looks really nice, meaningful copy content, meaningful posting messages, DMing people when they DM you back, or DM them back when they DM you, responding to comments, all of those things. The one thing that you really do is you go through and you comment, you reply to their DMs, you make good comments, you create engagement. The thing that you don't want to do is create this long tail factor that is almost irrelevant, because all you're doing is short-term gaming. You're posting a picture, you're asking for a response, and you never respond to your customers. That's just dumb. Or you're just posting dumb response, or posts, which is just like, if you're just posting sales posts all the time, you're never going to get anywhere. So you need to create general content. Now, you can't, something that some people really struggle to come up with. They're like, well, Devin, I don't know, what kind of general content do you mean? And so then I see people post like, oh, the weather is nice today. Come on down to Back's Barbecue because it's nice. No, people don't need another weatherman. They can read the news. They've all got phones. Don't do that. That's just a sales pitch inside of a crappy weather pickup line. So talk about something genuine. One of the things that I've learned the most in marketing is that somebody once told me that if you light yourself on fire, people will come for miles to watch you burn. And that like, it rings so true with me, because there's tons of people in my life that have done similar things for me. But the most entertaining thing that you can do is be innovative, be fresh, be new, be responsive. Do stuff that people haven't even done. People come from miles to watch you burn, meaning they'll come from miles to see what you're doing, because everybody likes that stuff. Everybody talks about those things. Everybody likes to know what the new thing is. Everybody likes to see that. So I'd encourage you to do those things. What are some ways that you can compete with huge companies, huge firms? I work with a guy who just got done working at Facebook, and he actually sold to these multi-billion dollar companies who bought hundreds of millions of dollars worth of marketing through Facebook. The question is, or the answer is simple. Facebook's big enough to where you don't have to worry about that. Yes, they're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars, but the numbers are irrelevant if you actually do some right targeting. If you actually, pick your right demographics, your right audience, you target them back to your website, you pixel track them on your website, all of these things. Some of those can get a little bit more in the details. If you guys want, just drop a comment, please. I'll be more than happy to maybe even make a video exclusively on that stuff. But it gets real deep. All right. Marketing and advertising, he says, is it a necessity of business to businesses? In your opinion, is there a good amount that a company should spend on them per year, or what's best for them to do? Spend a money that they can afford, an amount that they can afford, or just is there a certain number? Good question. This is different and circumstantial for everybody. I will say, for most people that probably don't know, the general consensus is that a business should spend anywhere from 9 to 15% per year on marketing. And that's gross revenue, by the way, gross revenue. So 15% of your budget should be about towards marketing if you can afford that. Now, for some people that's steep, and for others that's like, well, that's no problem because like I'm investing in my business anyway. My parents don't like to spend money, so that's why I learned all this crap, because they refuse to spend money, but I knew it was a necessity. So I just did it myself. Now, it takes a lot of time, a lot of learning, and a lot of experience, but it's doable. All this stuff's for free on YouTube. And if you're lucky enough to get somebody who knows what they're doing, they can kind of cut, half of those hours out, half of the 1,000 hours that you put into this stuff completely. They can just cut it out. And I'm more than happy to be that person for you guys if you need it. So feel free to hit me up and ask me, because I was struggling once too, and I know what it's like. So I'd love to see you win. But to answer the biggest question there, is marketing a necessity for business? The answer is yes and no. It goes two parts. So overall, the macro level, marketing is essential, right? You need it, especially today. It's everything. Brand is everything. Brand is a part of marketing. The caveat, some companies don't necessarily need it. Only a few, like top 1% of the 1%. Literally Elon Musk with Tesla, Tim Cook with Apple. Those companies, they kind of refuse to market, not because they don't think it's good, just because they're kind of egotistical and audacious enough that they don't need it. They just spend that money into researching and creating better products. You can do that at a certain level, but there's a point, if you solidify your brand so tightly, and then you create a product around that brand that is so unbelievably nice and good, you're going to win. But you've got to that's got to be rock solid. So it's not exactly possible for everybody, and it's not possible for all the time. And most people, again, it goes back to like lighting a fire and people watching it burn. Tesla is literally on fire. So like everybody's watching them. They get free PR every other day of the week. Elon just tweets on Twitter, and then boom, there you go. That's marketing. So it's relative. Yes, you should spend money. You should invest what you can into it for sure. Moving on to, thank you, Dan, for those questions, but I really appreciate that, and I hope everything's going well for you, man. So moving on to OurCupCakery, and she's got a little cake shop she's doing. Looks like she's doing pretty well. Congrats on your 17 years. Question, what tips do you have for activating Square Online? Is there such a thing for that, like SEO? Yes, all websites have SEO. That is controlled by Google search engine or whatever search engine you're on, primarily Google. But yes, now you've got your domain. It says through GoDaddy, which we'll follow up in a second. But so tips for activating Square Online. There's some things that you should keep in mind when doing so, and primarily your catalog, your item list. A lot of people, when they set up their Square catalog, especially if you weren't planning on doing anything customer facing with it, you just named items whatever you wanted, whatever was easiest, whatever you've had them for years, I'm sure. And like, for instance, one of them would be 6-inch round cake tall custom. Okay. Now, you as a business owner knows what that is. Your employees may know what that is. But the customer walking in the door really doesn't understand what that even means. And it doesn't look good. Or I guess the customer going online, I should say. So what you're going to need to do there is reduce that name to something much more feasible. Because the same names that are in Square, your Square dashboard, are on Square Online. Okay? Step one is to create a catalog and an item list that is cohesive to your customers. For instance, it wouldn't be 6-inch round tall cake custom. It should be 6-inch custom cake. Or 6-inch design cake. 6-inch, any of those things. 12-inch design cake. 12, whatever. So figure that out, whatever works for you. For us, we've created a bunch of custom names for our menu items called the Fatback, the Double Play, the Judge's Box, stuff like that. So we have those, of course. We also have some simpler things as well. But we want to clearly communicate, not for our own sake, primarily for the customer's sake. Next question. We're trying to decide if we should move our website to Square Online. I'm concerned if it's the right fit for us, since we're pretty content heavy. We would lose our rankings with our search, or would we lose our rankings with our search engine from the new URL? Our website's currently on WordPress through GoDaddy as a domain. So yeah, GoDaddy hosts the domain. WordPress is just where your website is built on, and then it's hosted through whatever platform, I guess. Maybe it's GoDaddy or something. Would you lose SEO? No. You can easily switch the same domain to the Square site. You just have to pay Square $140 a year for them to allow you to pick your own custom domain, right? Which I would recommend everyone doing. I'm aware $140 is not cheap for everybody. We don't like spending money at all either. But it's 1,000% worth it. You don't want to have a random domain flying out there because you'll never get found. Okay, you just don't. Totally possible for you to switch sites, depending on what you try and do. I checked out your website. Definitely, I can understand your concerns. I will say that definitely moving to a modern, updated, very simplistic design kind of website would be great for you guys. And Squarespace or WordPress, Square or WordPress could do that for you. If you want to just honestly, in today's world, unless you're running a very high populated blog or you're wanting a nicely customized website, Square will probably be fine because it's just like Squarespace or Shopify or anything like that. You don't need much more than just a place for customers to see your product, see what you're about, where you're at, and if they can order online, which is 10 times better, but hopefully they can order online. In this case, they can, right? So that's what I would say. If you guys want to jump into more details and topics, I'd love to help you out. I'd be more than happy to. And either help you with WordPress and then implement your Square Online with WordPress. For instance, that's what we do. My primary site is built on WordPress, fatbacksbbq.com. I have a subdomain off of that called order.fatbacksbbq.com, and that's built with the Square Online website. So great stuff, great platform. You can do tons of stuff with it. Practically speaking, there's tons of things. We would get more specific and down in the weeds. Just let me know. I'd love to help out there. So, all right, good question on question number 3 here. How to not pay third-party delivery fees when they say we can't change prices on those purchases. We've been courted by many third-party delivery services, but we stayed away because of high percentage fees and because we're primarily custom order and don't need to sell pre-made goods sitting in cases due to our unique serve method. All right, cool. So depending on the circumstance. Yours is a little bit unique. But depending on the circumstance, you should be able to run this in a way to compensate where you're paying nothing for delivery. Let me explain. The way Square Online is set up, you pay $1.50 to Square per delivery transaction that you do. Okay, that's good. So what then happens is that you also pay a $6.99 delivery fee if you go through DoorDash. So the total amount there, I'll do the math, 7 plus 150, that's $8.50. Now, you can relay all of those fees back to your customers and easily have them pay for it. Now, I'm not doing this in a cynical way just because I say, well, I'm just going to gouge them. That's not my intention here. But the fact of the matter is I can't afford 30% of my profit margin to go to DoorDash because that's what they take. DoorDash charges 30%. If you were just to partner up with them, DoorDash charges 30% per order. Great. The problem is I'm not going to pay that to you. I'm not going to pay you $30 for every $100 order that I have. That's just insane. Most restaurants' profit margin is in the range of 4 to 9%. So there's no chance that I'm going to pay 30%, even though there's a worker and everything involved like that. I just can't afford that. So what I decided to do with Square On Demand, which we could have covered the whole delivery fee and we could have covered all of those things, or we could have just charged them half of the delivery fee or something of the sort. Totally up to you if you want to do that. My parents at the time were not as highly convinced with delivery, so we actually went with the full coverage for it because they didn't want to spend money on it. So the way I set it up was in order to optimize the platform that the customer would pay for the delivery if they so choose to get it. So that $8.50 fee is broken down in two ways. Square Online allows you to set a delivery fee costs. This cost comes in, you can set it at whatever amount you want. You can set it for the full $6.99 DoorDash fee or $5.99 Postmates fee, whatever it is in your place. Or you can set it for a random amount that you want to cover. I set that delivery fee, which is what the customer sees on the front end of the website. I set it for $3.99. So on the front end, the customer sees a delivery fee, and it says right there, $3.99. So that's what I set the delivery fee at, which was something low enough to not scare the customer, but also it was, high enough to where it looked like they were paying for delivery. However, to compensate the other $3.50, so there was so there's $4 charged, and there was another $4.50 that still needed to be compensated. I charged those costs in the service fees section. So they don't see the service fees until they get to the checkout screen. Now, I'm not trying to manipulate anybody. This is actually how all companies do it on a franchise level and also on a DoorDash level, Uber, all of them. This is how they do the fees. They say it's a $3.99 fee, but then you get to the checkout and it's like $5 in service charges and taxes and whatever. So that's the way to do it. It's amazing. Your customer doesn't think that they're going to pay $8 for delivery. And honestly, most of them don't have a problem with it because DoorDash and Uber already do the same things. So they're used to paying this much for delivery. So essentially, you can get out of it just like all the other companies do. And that's the message here. We're trying to save as much money as possible. Margins are tight. And if the customer does want, they always have the option to choose to pick up. And honestly, if it were my business, I would probably charge less amounts just to even entice customers even more. But it's not. So this is what my parents and I settled on. And honestly, it's not too bad. It's not awful at all. I think that it would be reasonable considering that's the going rate. So yeah, we can talk more about that if any of that was unclear. I'd love to. That one's huge, guys. That one's huge. Okay, online event and registration and management. Currently, we use Eventbrite, and wonder if Square could accommodate that too. All right, so online registration and management. That one, I don't know. That one stumped me. I probably just should have done some research, and I will probably do some after this. Can't remember if Square does have an event planning platform. I don't think they do right now. They may be working on one. But nonetheless, there's some ways around it, and also you can integrate with your Square platform too through possible APIs and things like that. So let me get back with you on that. Anyway, thank you for all your questions, and I hope that helps. Okay, akReidely. I hope that's pronounced right. My main concern, and I heard this from a lot of food truck vendors who share the same point. So many times, especially at wineries, breweries, concerts, etc., customers order, then they wander around. It'll be great if Square implemented an SMS notification letting customers know their order is ready for pickup. I'm referring to in-person orders, not online orders. Square's response was ask the customer who's standing in your face to order online. Really? Toast has that feature implemented, and how hard is it to do that for in-person orders? Thank you for answering. Question to you is, do you have any workarounds for SMS notifications? Pagers get lost and Bullhorn isn't always effective. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So this one is definitely a tough one. There's definitely a workaround that would have to be implemented. Depending on I'm not too sure how your business is set up in exactly the context, because that matters here. But let's say you are a winery. I'll just go with that one. And your customers come up to the counter. They say they want 400 bottles of Chaperay, whatever kind of, they want 400 bottles of rosé. And you're like, awesome, we'll get that ready for you. And then they proceed to walk around the store. Okay, so what you could do there is this would all probably be external, okay? You could implement a system using something like Twilio, which is like a SMS platform. And you could build some APIs out that kind of trigger and fire off. This gets a little complex here, but this would work. And it wouldn't be, I don't think it would be terribly hard to implement. If you had, like, I could help out, and, it would be kind of challenging, but it's an option. And I'm just saying it for what it's worth here. So you may not be interested in this at all, but as a developer, I can at least tell you what a potential solution would be. You get a platform like Twilio, which is an SMS service that has APIs, and there's a way to integrate that every time an order is placed, possibly, that, or maybe not placed, but there's a certain kind of customer program that you set up that, once the order is placed, you set a, notification to them via text message and whatnot. It pulls that from the Square platform, sends them an automated message. We'll send you a message when your order is ready. When the order is ready, you then go on your different app that is set up and you push order ready, and it sends them a confirmation message to come pick their stuff up. It wouldn't be too terribly hard to implement, as far as it's not like, it sounds complicated, but it's not like breaking down new walls. It would just take, a matter of maybe a week or two to really build out. But it's possible, and if you guys did want to do that, I'd be more than happy to talk you through and see if we can work something out. I'd be happy to help. That would be fun and interesting, and it may inspire some other people to kind of jump on board. But yeah, I'm sorry that, and I'll think through that too to see if there's any other walkthroughs or workarounds. One option would obviously be to implement a QR code system to have in-person ordering. Square has that now, where there's in-person ordering on kiosk or whatever, and you could just allow them to order there, and it would automatically do those things for you. So I understand, but yeah, the only way through Square's APIs, I believe currently, to set that up is through their online or self-ordering kind of platform, if you will. So it is what it is, but I understand your concerns. But I'd love to help out, for real. Okay, looks like we got one or two more. So from abbakery, Shalane, apple butter bakery, that sounds delicious. She says, what is your favorite Square's feature, paid or unpaid? I've been using Square for a little over a year and recently discovered the team management upgrade, which allows employees to send invoices in their own login, which has been great for us. I'm sure there are many other features that I haven't discovered yet, but what's yours? Great. Yeah, so we've used Team Management Plus since the beginning. We haven't used it to its full potential at all, but some of the nice things about it that I've recognized are being able to track how much each employee transacts total throughout the year, how much tips they collect, stuff like that. And some of those things may be given already, to be honest, if you don't even have the upgrade. But I haven't explored enough. Those things are nice, though. I would agree it's a nice addition to be able to see how much each employee is doing and tips they're bringing in, things like that. Gift cards, one of the things we use it for is gift card sales, which would be per per employee, how many gift card sales. We do a little competition per the end of the year and stuff like that. So that's great. My favorite Square feature would be Square Online. I think it's terrific. I think Square Online with Square on-demand delivery, that's where everything's going, and especially as a restaurant, it's absolutely essential to pay attention to what they're doing because they're giving you, it's potentially free. All of this stuff is potentially free. So that's just insane. And to set up an e-commerce platform that doesn't look like crap isn't kind of hard to do, as most like online platforms for ordering have sucked for a long, long time. So to get one out of the box for free from Square that automatically updates your entire catalog into the platform, ships ready to go, and your payment processing is all in one space, that's pretty insane. So Square Online by far, Square On-Demand Delivery is included in that. So there's just too many good things about it. I'll say so. There's a lot of other good stuff along with it. Square Loyalty is one of the other big reasons we switched over to Square for sure. Haven't really used the entire full potential out of it, but if you even again start entertaining it, your customers, they'll get something out of it, and so it's a big perk. And we haven't fully executed that 100% to the best ability right now. But like I said, I'm building this mobile app, so that's where I plan on really doubling down on it then. Thanks for that question, and let's go one more. So we got one from Kykyki, I believe. Says, would love to hear your thoughts, including pros and cons of Square's delivery on-demand feature. I'm in the process of launching an online store of frozen dumplings, fresh hot sauces, etc. available for curbside pickup. I'm curious to see if Square's delivery option is fiscally viable option for small online startup like mine. Yes, I would probably say so. Again, you're going to be using platforms like Postmates and DoorDash. So yes, totally potential. You've got definitely the ability there to execute that. And I would say that you have to be very upfront and clear about it with your customers. Now that Square allows the scheduling of delivery, that's huge. But also you need to, depending on how your business model runs, is, be very clear, explicit on your website, and kind of set up your catalog and everything optimized for customers knowing when they can order items, when they can't order them, and how they should go about ordering them if they want delivery or curbside pickup, right? You just don't want a bunch of ambiguity, and you want it to be a frictionless experience. So, the best you can do there. Some things you're going to go up against, I guess, because you're asking for pros and cons. Some problems you're going to go up against. Like I said, I don't know your business model necessarily, but you don't want to be confusing to your customers. Let's say you've got Jim who is ordering frozen dumplings from you because he doesn't need them today, but he just looked and he saw it. Well, now he can choose when to get them from you. And if your store is not like open all the time, how's a DoorDash driver going to know to come to your house or store or wherever and pick them up if you're not there? So really setting up the store hours correctly, making sure the processes are understood, making sure your prep time is understood, or whatever you need for that, right? So you'll deal with some issues there. But I think it's viable. I think it's definitely possible. And if delivery is going to be that good for your customers. Also, if you haven't watched, I would rewatch a section earlier from OurCupCakery because there's some insightful information about how you can go about compensating those delivery fees and not having to, pay for those. So if that's something that you think your customers would really like, I would encourage you to do that. But if most of your customers are not really into it, it may not be a huge concern. If I had to guess, I would say that more than likely somebody's willing to order that on delivery. And also you can advertise that and market that, brand that on Facebook, something that other small business shops might not do. All right, last question. It looks like he says from sotexbbq, South Texas Barbecue. I actually spoke to him through DM. He says, as the business has grown, did you all experience stagnant times with growth? What did you do to overcome this? Yes. Now, if you look at the 'Technically, we've grown supposedly 20% per year-ish Not exactly, right? But yeah, there's been times, especially around the 6, 7, 8 year mark, where we were growing, but it didn't seem like we were like breaking barriers, right? And especially in the beginning, we were stagnant in the sense of it was kind of really scary because we were making not a lot of money, and we had to figure out how to overcome that. And during the winter times, guys, like it's scary when you're making, just for perspective and for everything that's worth, when you're making $800 a day and $600 a day in the wintertime, like that is not enough money at all to even support payroll. And so that was happening sometimes. And there was really, during slow periods, it was really slow. And during summertime, like it was great because we were making, quite a bit more per day. Sometimes our busy days back then were, $3,000, $3,500. And so it was like, wow, this is great. And we would have a good weekend. But then when it came to winter and slow times, $600 was not going to cut it. So growing out of that was huge for us. And again, the ways to grow out of it is to implement and innovate. Like I said, eventually our product is really good. It's not amazing. Like I think there's always room for growth, but we used to compete. We used to do things like that. So like we know what's good, we know what's bad, and we know what we can improve upon, but it's just hard to produce all of that at scale. That being said, our product kind of took off. So it's not necessarily difficult to sell our product. Also, there's kind of a demand for barbecue because we don't have a ton of great barbecue in our city. So, yeah, but we are competing with all the other restaurants, right? We are competing with all of that. So, yeah, we had to figure out how to really start emphasizing ourselves. So, over years, our restaurant, yes, it grew in name popularity. It grew in flavor, taste popularity. But it really didn't start growing until we started expanding our audience. For a while there, for the first 5 to 7 years, 5 to 6 years, our audience was primarily kind of a couple different demographics. We had older people that would come in and they would enjoy the scene and the atmosphere, which was kind of rustic and things. And they would come in and spend money on a regular basis. And then we had kind of middle-aged millennials and things. They would come in, not necessarily near as often. They wouldn't really come in to eat all the time. They would just get stuff kind of to go, or they would get big catering orders, or they would eat dinner occasionally, maybe once a month, or maybe once every 2 months, to be honest. That's kind of how that would go. So we had the potential, and those were the people with like a lot of money. So we had the potential to grow, but our young audience, the youngest we went was like millennials, and I'm talking like 35 to like 45-ish. But we needed to reach even lower. We need to get a lot more 20-year-olds and even, 15 or, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, right? Just because we're not going to have a ton of kids, but at least if those kids can come by, at least their parents are going to be more exposed to it as well. So that was the plan for us. So we started targeting a much more modern audience with our brand. We started branding for not just old and rustic and outdated, but something that could really catch on and people could get behind and feel okay with. We're all about family and we're all about making differences in people's days. So that's kind of what I came up with and created, and we started rolling with it. Modernized all of our colors, brand, repainted, rebuilt, all of this stuff. Implemented Square and online delivery and updated our menu, like all of this stuff. And now today, like our audience is much more diverse. We've got everything from lower class, kind of lower economic level people, which were kind of a expensive kind of food, so that's kind of hard sometimes. We'll get all the way from that, and we'll go all the way up to, some of the richer, most wealthiest people in the town. And the reason is because when you expand those horizons and you can appease to everybody in a brand, you shouldn't try and appease to everybody, but we had to bridge that gap to get wider than just the narrow path we were on because it wasn't helping. So all in all, some of those things I listed: social media, delivery, expansion, innovation, updating your brand, innovating your brand. All of those things are huge. And if, like I said earlier, if you didn't see it, if you didn't watch through, people will come from miles to watch you burn. Light yourself on fire. because people will come for miles to watch you burn. And I truly mean that. If your product is on fire, if you are on fire, if you're innovating, if you're doing stuff that nobody else is doing, people will come. I promise you. But use marketing and social media and all those things to help that, right? These are free. And sometimes, well, not all times, but like they're going to dramatically help you more than anything else. So use them. Lastly here, guys, that's all the questions that I have. Finishing up here, there's tons of stuff we could go over again and again and again. I wish I even had a more refined list to talk about, but I didn't. So I'll say to you guys, if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask them. DM me, message me, or ask them in this thread. I don't know if it's still going to be open, but yeah, please just feel free to reach out. And we can get into a detailed level. I can go on a phone call with you, a FaceTime, a Zoom. All free. Don't worry about that. I'd love to help out. Seriously. Some of these things are really complex, and I kind of like grazed over them because it's at a kind of high detail level right now. But anything you want, I'll do it. I promise. So do that. And then if you guys want to talk about actual like business development stuff and some kind of like extreme marketing plans or anything like that, or building out some kind of app feature or whatever, we can totally do that. I can tell you I won't charge you anywhere near what the market price is going to be, just because I don't really care to do that. I'd love to help you out. So if I can do it as close to at cost of what it is for me, I'd love to help you out there. So feel free to ask me on that too, whatever it is. And I'm not trying to sell myself. I'll literally walk you through it if you want me to, but whatever. So, nonetheless, I've had an incredible privilege to help you guys out, and hopefully I helped you guys out, but I've had an incredible privilege to be here and to record this content for you. I think Square is definitely on its way up. I think Square is continually growing, just like I was talking about. They're lighting themselves on fire, and people are watching them burn right now. So definitely use Square for every bit of potential you've got. And hopefully, if you're running a business, I encourage you to find what makes you happy in it. Because if you're not happy, you're going to spend over a third of your life not being happy. And there's no amount of money in the world that could change that. And the last thing I'm going to say here, guys, I've had an incredible privilege of being here and speaking with y'all. Please let me know if I can do anything for you. I'd love to give you any kind of free advice. So if you got any just general topics, we can talk, we can DM, we can jump on a phone call, we can yell at each other. I don't care. Whatever you want to do, I'll do with you. And I'd love to help you out in any kind of way. Obviously, Zoom calls are going to be better. Phone calls are going to be better. Just so writing and typing takes longer for both of us, and getting context out can kind of hurt. And then if you want to go even further past that, I've had some people ask me, some work and like if I wanted to do some work for them, and totally that's fine. I'd love to do that actually. And whatever the cost may be, and like some of your projects required like implementing some kind of like app or in any kind of development, totally for it. I'm happy to help, and especially with small businesses, I love that. So, yeah, let me know on that too. Whatever the price would be, and I'm not trying to sell myself here, but whatever the price would be, it would be far under market value, because I really would just prefer helping you guys out more than anything else. So, it's not about money. It's about the purpose here. So love to do that. Just let me know. And lastly, I've mentioned this multiple times. People will come for miles to watch you burn. So light yourself on fire. As I was saying, I hope that if you are in your business, and I hope that what you're doing, you're enjoying it. Because if you don't enjoy it, you're going to spend a third of your life being miserable. So I hope that you can find time, you can find enjoyment in what you're doing and everything you're doing, and hopefully it bodes well for you. And if you're not, what do you need to do to enjoy it? Figure that out. Really work on that, because the worst thing that you can do is waste a third of your life away just for the money. The money is not worth it. And I can guarantee you that right now. I was actually listening to a motivational speaker the other day, and something he said, I'll reiterate it here. And I think it was Bradley, if I'm correct, but something he said that I really did believe in, that he made this story, and it was a parable. He said, if I could give you $1 million, would you be happy? And the audience responded well. They were like, yeah, obviously, they would be ecstatic. He was like, you wouldn't be complaining. You'd be ecstatic. You'd be stoked. You wouldn't complain for a month, would you? And then they were like, obviously, yeah. I mean, it's $1 million. I would be ecstatic. He's like, okay, cool. So you would take $1 million. Yeah, I would love to take $1 million, I said. So he said, okay. Well, what if I told you, I'll give you $1 million, but you can't wake up anymore? Would you take it then? And the response from them was, well, obviously not. I mean, no, I wouldn't take it. Now, we can all kind of rationalize that, but what he was saying here is, he said, since you wouldn't take $1 million to not wake up anymore, realize that when you woke up this morning, you were saying that your life is more valuable than $1 million. So start living like that. And start living like having $1 million mornings, because this is what matters. Life can sometimes kick you down. It can drop kick you. It can punch you till you bleed. And I'm learning that as I'm getting older as well. But truly, nothing is worth the amount of money that you're going to attain. So live in those $1 million mornings. Remember that when you woke up this morning, you chose, you're saying that your life is more valuable than $1 million. And I'm sure you could say the thing about $10 million or even $1 billion. So think about that. But anyway, that's it for me, guys. Like I said, I hope that I can help you out in any other way, any sort of way. Please drop me some comments. I genuinely love helping people, so don't shy away from that. But that's about all I got. I'm sorry we couldn't do it live. I really wish we could have. And hopefully maybe later we can. Maybe I'll be able to do this again for you or anything like that. Maybe we can do this one-on-one live. So anyway, hope you all are well. And I've got nothing but best wishes for you. So I will catch you later. Peace for now.